This video is not about whether you should watch the Dollars Trilogy or not. It's not even about why you should watch it. You should watch these three movies. I have tried to stay away from them for a very long time, but one fine day I decided, like, what the hell? Let's just get it over with. And that was a few days ago. And today I'm a very changed man. I want to buy spurs for my boots. I don't know what I'll do with it, but when I first sat down to watch this movie, I thought it would be an English movie. Despite Leone being an Italian director, I knew Eastwood that he's going to speak in English, so it would be an English movie. But when the characters started speaking, they were in Spanish. So I changed the track from Spanish to English, and it still felt very odd because it was clearly dubbed. Tried to find a better one. I found always the dubbed versions. The first few minutes of watching people talk while their mouths did not move or moved in a weird way, especially now that I'm used to watching movies in their original languages. But after a few minutes it settled in and I was fine with it. Most of the times I was trying to read the subtitles of what they were saying. It did not really bother me that much. Let's talk about the first movie, A Fistful of Dollars. This was a bit of an experimental movie, I think, and as far as I know that they had not planned for the next two movies. It's a very nostalgic movie. It reminded me of how those old Bollywood movies used to look and feel. Two shots, the composition, the style of the films, the locations, the costumes, the sets, everything reminded me of the 70s and 80s of Hindi Bollywood movies. At that time, Bollywood also wanted to make copies of westerns because it was a tried and tested formula, and nobody in India was watching Hollywood, so no one knew what sort of movies were made in the Western world. They just accepted every Bollywood movie which was a rip-off. Coming back to this one, I clearly did not pay much attention to this movie as I thought, yeah, what the hell, just get it over with. Talking about this movie, I think would spoil it for you, even though there's not much. I think it would spoil if I reveal too many things. One of the best things I liked about this movie was the performances of the actors, the close-up shots, how gunshots were shot. Also, I liked how fire and smoke was used in this movie. They looked so crisp. I fell in love with it. Moving on, for a few dollars more. This movie instantly had a music appraisal, I think. They started paying more to the people who were making the music. And the music was sprinkled all along the movie. One of the things I was confused about was how a character from the previous movie, which had died, was still present here. At first I thought the character didn't really die. I realized that this was a different character, not the same one, just played by the same actor. When we get an introduction to that character, we see that he is in a jail. And I'm very dumb, I didn't realize that it was a jail until they started shooting and many of the guards, as they're called, started dying. So it also gives a history lesson as to how jails used to be made for movies. The best thing about this movie are the twists. I did not expect so many of them to be present there, yet they were genius. I loved it. There were small anecdotes and little fables or something. If I say any more, I think I will ruin the movie for you. One of the biggest upgrade this franchise got was of the visual communication. Or maybe it's just me not noticing it in the first one. In this one I noticed how much silence was used in this movie, and yet things were getting communicated to us. What the characters felt, how the actors were doing it, how the music supported it. My favorite was El Indio. His acting was so dramatic and yet so on the point. He played the character so perfectly. It made me think that he's not an actor from almost 100 years ago. His performance was really modern. Also, what helped in his case was his character. He was a psychopathic with a twisted backstory that helped him in his performance, in his bizarre way of dealing with things. There was also this one weird thing in the movie. One of our lead character has black paint on his face for exactly one shot. I don't know why that was the case. I think maybe they had cut some shots, or maybe they just wanted to make the environment feel a bit dark and make his eyes look bright. And I think film restricted it. That's why they went with that route of making the face black and yet keeping the exposure high. But that's just a rant. Everyone agrees with the music of The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. But in my opinion, the music of this movie was the best, hands down the best. I just fell in love. I can still hear the chimes ringing as he opened his pocket watch. The pocket watch itself is a character in this movie. The music it made, and how the pocket watch was used to time shots being fired at people, and all of these elements, these are not really the things which you would expect to unroll as you watch a movie, but this just does it so smoothly. I don't know, I feel like I'm doing a disservice to you by explaining certain things, because I like the first time viewers experience without knowing anything going in. What I found out in the featurette section of the movie was that Leone mostly casted the entire cast by looking at them. He was not particularly interested in how they acted, but their look, the way they carried themselves, was the most important thing in the movie. And this one looked a little different. It was shot on Techniscope. This movie was like 60 years old when they decided to restore it, but as it was shot on Techniscope, it was really tough to do so. And also, as I said, the dubbing thing, it was a mess of different languages. Sometimes they had to salvage different elements from different prints from all over the world. When there used to be no dialogues, they used to just cut from a different soundtrack to make sure that the audio is better. In the end, the restoration team did a really good job. I did not find anything jarring, any abrupt cuts or transitions. Everything felt natural and it felt like how it should be. So now comes the most famous of them all, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. I think this is the most rewatchable film in the Dollars Trilogy. Every character, every side character is so important. Every subplot is so interesting that you would find yourself trying to go back and watch many of the scenes. The dialogues were so good, the use of music is so good, the close-ups are so much better. And I had not expected of them revealing the title of the film in the reverse order. First we meet the ugly, then we meet the bad, and finally we meet the good. One of the dialogues I really liked here was, if you work for a living, why do you kill yourself working? In this one, there were lots of soldiers and many wars between different battalions and whatnot were shown. And I think most of the extras who had missing arms and limbs and whatnot, they were actual war veterans. They may be. I think this movie is a bit different from the previous two, in a sense that the previous two were about the journey of Clint Eastwood's character, but in this one what we get is a mystery that needs to be solved, where if they solve it correctly and if they are alive by the end of it, they would be rewarded very handsomely. So every scene where our characters are in trouble feels like on the edge of the seat experience, because if something goes wrong, if they die, then we might not know what the reward is and if it's true. So I think that is one of the factors in making this movie a classic. Also, one of the best things in this movie is how, actually slowly, every movie after the first one, the second and the third, they had bigger set pieces. For example, in the last scene of the For a Few More Dollars and this one, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, I think they had the same set piece, but the scale of the set piece was so much bigger. The set piece of these two films were the same, but The Good, the Bad and the Ugly had such a huge scale to it. It shows that how confidence of the producers had risen up after the success of the first two films, that they started pouring in more money for the third and the final installment of this franchise. The explosions, everything was so large. Frankly, I miss how movies have lost the touch of exploding things. It was so satisfying seeing bridges being blown up, water blown up, dust. It felt very tactile, very real. I don't know what has gotten into us nowadays, that movies are not really featuring explosions that are grounded. Like when an explosion happens, stuff fly in the air and they also fall back to where people are standing, where the camera is rolling. In modern explosions, I don't see that, because the explosions happen in post. So there is no interaction of wooden planks flying off and hitting one of the characters in the side unexpectedly, and they don't know how to react. These sort of things are not really common now, because they don't happen on the set. The climax of the scene is like the most famous shooting scene ever, because the build up till this moment was so huge. It's almost a 3-hour movie, and the build up is so good. We know these three characters, and all three of them have three different personalities, even though they are in the same profession. We as an audience don't know what will happen, who will shoot whom, and who is gonna die, who is gonna get backstabbed, who is going to get the money. And the cuts, extreme close-up of their eyes, and the close-ups of their gun holsters, and their fingers, and their tension. It's not a cut to the music, to the beat. It's a cut to how things must have been for these three characters trying to get their hands on the reward. You would not expect any of it to happen. I remember while watching this one, I was thinking of like 10 different outcomes to happen, but what happens in the climax is not what I expect, and what happens after the climax is also not something which I have expected. But it's so satisfying to see such a good outcome. Yeah, that was it for the review of this trilogy of amazing Western films. The next time I'll be meeting you is with the review of, drum rolls, Christopher Reeve's Superman series. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good time. Let's meet in a few days, hopefully. Bye bye.